folks. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. It's February, right? It's the middle of the winter for many people. Valentine's Day is coming, and we are, in essence, for me at the Dice Tower, this is when we start our year. The Kickstarter ended. Here we go. Last week, we spent a lot of time working on kind of what the year is going to look like. One of the things, unfortunately, is that this week is the New York Toy Fair, and as much as I would have liked to have gone, we just decided that that was something that we couldn't really concentrate on this year. Maybe we'll get to that next year, but there you will find news about that on the internet. Eric Martin does a good job over at Board Game News. So there's different things going on, and we had some major problems with our computers, or when I say we, I mean me and my computer. I got a brand new computer last year. I got a new computer this year to help with the streaming. The new computer ran slowly for some reason. The old computer, which is still pretty spanking new, was causing all sorts of problems, and I actually lost 2 reviews completely that were recorded. Fortunately, they weren't that big of games, but we'll have to redo those and put them out this week. So we wiped the computers, and hopefully everything will be working better this week, I can hope. Now, the Kickstarter is over, and what we're going to be doing very soon, if you happen to be watching this and you back the Kickstarter, I am sending out surveys this week. Please respond as soon as possible. Please, please, please. As soon as you get it, respond, because it helps everybody if you do that. I can then immediately turn around and order dice towers and dice and all the stuff that we need so we can get things shipped to you in time. If you delay, it's very problematic, and you will get your stuff way later than you're supposed to. Please respond to those surveys right away. If you wanted to get involved in the Kickstarter and you didn't for whatever reason and still want to, it's possible. Please email me at tomvasel@gmail.com and let me know. But enough about that. Let's get to what's really exciting, and that's the news. Don't forget you can get all your news at dicetowernews.com, but here's some of the highlights from last week. First, in France, they are having a special 80th edition of Monopoly. Big deal, you say? Yes, but in 80 of these copies that they're selling, there is real money, and it's like 50 euros or so in most of them. But in one set, all the money is completely real. That's kind of fascinating to me. It's like a lottery ticket. Are people going to go out and buy Monopolies and hope they get lucky? Is the copy with money going to be sold to somebody who never opens it? It's like a movie. Let's see. Stonemaier Games has announced several of the things they're coming out with, as well as 3 more treasure chests. Now, the first treasure chest I got is amazing. Guys, I love it. I wish I'd gotten 2 of them. But it's so many cool pieces. Here you can see they got stuff for Power Grid. They got stuff to replace all the boring cubes in many Euro games for those resources, silk and stuff. And then more stuff, I think, for Caverna and Agricola. It just really looks cool, and so I don't normally tell you to back or not back a Kickstarter, but I'll just say that when that Kickstarter comes out, there's a good chance I'll be backing them. Let's see. Relic has an expansion coming out, The Halls of Terra, which is interesting because I didn't know that Relic, how well it ever did, if it warranted expansions or not. Obviously so. And then in news that delights me, just because of the fun of saying it, Stronghold Games is going to be publishing Stronghold. That's right, Ignacy Trebicek from Portal Games about 6 years ago designed a game called Stronghold, in which one person was defending a castle, everybody else was attacking that castle. It's a really cool game, but does kind of need some rule tweaks and definitely a component overview, and it needs to be published by Stronghold Games, because Stronghold Games should be publishing a game called Stronghold. At least that's what I think. And I've said that to Steve every time I see him, it seems. And now he's doing it. So that's going to be exciting. Stronghold and Portal working together to make that happen. I want to show you briefly here the expansion of that's up on Kickstarter right now called The Stuff of Legend for Heroes Wanted. The folks here from Action Phase Games gave us our own custom card that we'll be handing out for the Dice Tower Kickstarter. But they have this expansion up that adds more to this superhero game. So let's take a look at what is involved in this. Now remember, everything I show you is prototype. Some of it's pretty close to being done, but if it looks a little off, it's because, well, it's a prototype. There's a new type of heroes. Actually, there's 2 new types of heroes. The first new type of hero in this set are called supernatural heroes. So here we have Sphere Knot, and a Meganomatic, and Eye of Newt. Now, these guys are great because they have extremely powerful special abilities. Let's take a look at Sphere Knot, for example. deals 6 damage to a character, but then it causes her to be cursed 3, which means she puts 3 tokens on, and she has this negative effect here. Another hero within range 1 has to discard an action of your choice, and you may reduce damage dealt to you by an amount equal to your curses. So that's kind of a good thing, but the other thing's bad. Not only that, if she rests, then you have to take this card here, roll a die, and see what happens. And this is pretty bad, because curses are very terrible. But they come with their own meditate card, which allows them to get rid of curses. They also have their own special action card here, where they have a chance to get rid of curses or lose them based on what happens. The other type of hero, which is kind of cool, is what is called the epic type hero, or mythic, mythic, although epic is a good word. Here is Colossus. These guys are just basically special, and they each come with a very own distinctive card. For example, my Colossus here gets this card here, which lets him get Mighty Strike, which is a card that only Colossus can have. So here you can see Mighty Strike. It's a special card that only Colossus has, while maybe the Goat gets a very different card. And then we have Queen and Helmet and Arrow, and each of them has their own card. See, here's Helmet's card where he can gain ethereal costume, which looks like this, or Arrow's card says gain swift maneuver, which looks like this. And so they're basically their own special, they're like very, very unique. And because of that, I think they're going to be in high demand. It also comes with more of the same stuff from the first one, more of the silly traits, a couple that I thought were funny. Kindergarten, where when you play an attack card, you have to say the letter of it. You know, meditate, and then the amount of damage you do, you count from 1. So I'm doing 4 damage, I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I would go, ha, ha, ha. Open mic night, where you have to sing for your superpower. Here, after you KO a character, you must endorse a product or company. And then they have some more heroes. Here's a mix, the Towering Tower. Yes, that's me. They made a card for me in this set, which is nice of them to do so, but take that as you will for my endorsing it. Punctual Cricket, or here we have Microscopic Bull, or Bionic Supreme, or Bulletproof Butterfly, which actually sounds like a great name for a superhero. Red Hot Atom, or Spooky Blaze, or Sir Sponge, who sounds like he escaped from Bikini Bottom. So this is kind of the stuff that's in there. There's also a new scenario, or 2 new scenarios, because you have one on both sides. Here we have the Wyoming Wagon Wheel, where someone's trying to open a portal to evil space in Wyoming. So here's Wyoming. Here's the evil portal, and you're going back and forth. And then on the other side, we have the Ghosts and Games. So you're taking care of ghosts. These actually seem, both of these scenarios are much more villainous per se than the scenarios in the original set, which were like stealing DVDs, but it still retains the silliness of the game. So that's what's in this set. I'll put a link to the Kickstarter in the show notes if you're interested in that. Let's get back to Board Game Breakfast. Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Sam Healy.
All right, this person here says, when you buy a game, this is from Nicholas, do you get all the available extensions or expansions right away if the reviews are good enough? Do you hunt down all promos too? Are promos more necessary than others? Are some promos just there to fix the game? That's a lot of questions. So I'll answer the last 2 first. I don't know of any promo in existence, maybe you can, that fixes a game. Okay, maybe expansions, but not a promo. Yeah. And I don't know that any promo in existence that is necessary.
No, but you want them. I'm a collector.
No, not you. You want them.
I'm a collector. I want them. I think a lot of people do. I mean, if you look at my Board Game Geek promo thing, as soon as one comes out, I'm like, gotta get the promo.
Do you order like all the promos when they come up for all the games you have?
Promo, and the ones I'm missing, I buy when we're at BGG Con. Because I want a complete set of everything.
One extreme.
I need.
How often do you buy promos?
Let me think about it. Never. I'm just not a promos person. I guess if somebody is going to give me a promo, I won't turn it down, but I don't see... I don't have that inherent need to have something just because I have the game that it goes to. That's just not the way my brain works, I guess. But as far as the expansions are concerned, is it okay if we bleed into that?
Yeah, I was just say, let's talk about expansions.
Okay.
Let's say you've never played Battlelore, but you heard Battlelore is good. So you go, there's Battlelore, and there's the first expansions out already. Do you buy just the base game, or do you buy everything?
I buy everything. I mean, Imperial Assault, let's use that as a good example. As soon as those expansions come out, the Chewbacca, the Han Solo, I'm buying them immediately.
Okay, but that's different. You played the game already. Let's talk about a game that you have. Let's say you haven't played a game. New game comes out called, Boop Bop Shaboop Bop, and it sounds really good.
Or a game that was, let's say, X-Wing. When it came out, it came with a bunch of expansion ships in addition to the regular. I bought every expansion ship with the base set when I bought it.
What about you? Do you buy just the base set?
I bought my first purchase of, since we're using that as an example, my first purchase of X-Wing was the base game with, I think, an extra X-Wing and an extra TIE Fighter. I bought initially.
You didn't buy the Darth Vader ship initially too?
No, I didn't. I did buy it, but not initially. And I think that's where the question is coming from. When you initially buy a game, do you buy everything that comes with it that's available for it? And my short answer is no. Simply because you don't know how much you're going to like the game before you play it. And maybe you've played the game before you purchased it, which is wise, I think. And maybe you already know that you enjoy it. But I would see how much playtime you get out of it before you put the extra money in for the extra expansions, because if it doesn't hit the table very much, why shovel the extra cash into it?
And
doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
I'm going to look at this from a gameplay perspective too. It's really fun when you get a game and play it and enjoy that game, and then you're like, ooh, now what does the expansion add? Yeah. But if you get it all at once, it's this overwhelming amount of information and pieces and things to pick from.
Let's look at another example here. Dice Masters, which both me and Tom put as our top game of the year last year. Dice Masters, I would not be satisfied with just a starter set. I had to buy 2 booster boxes to make sure I got all the cards.
Yes, but as we discussed at lunch, you have a problem.
Because I buy it all. But I want it all, because I don't just want the base guys, I also want the Iron Man and I don't even remember.
No, I understand wanting more stuff, right? But to me, as advice for the consumer, I think you should buy the base game and see if you like it. Even if the reviews are good, you still might not like it before jumping on board with the expansions.
Yeah, if you're a consumer, be more cautious. If you're a crazy collector like me, which I know a lot of people that watch are,
first steps
buy everything and hope for the best. And usually most games turn out to be good, so
I was just talking to a guy about this last night, and he was saying that he has Kingswood, Kingsburg, sorry. He has Kingsburg, but he's not going to play it until he can get his hands on to Forge a Realm, the expansion for Kingsburg. And I said, nah, go ahead and play it first. That was my statement to him was, play it now. You already have the game, play it now. And then that'll tell you whether or not you want to buy the expansion. That's kind of the way my brain processes that information.
And once you get hooked on a game like Kingsburg or Lords of Waterdeep, you're like, oh, an expansion, Scoundrels of Skullport, perfect. I'm going to buy that now too and add it onto the game. And
all right, so Jason thinks to buy them all.
Pokemon mentality.
Yeah, we say get the base game first, then the expansions, but we need to keep going. So until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Sam Healy. See you later.
If you have questions, send them to dicetower@gmail.com.
So the Kingswood is a game of rolls, roads, and sly subversion. So you're basically playing one of these merchant houses, so House Sloth, Ostrich, Llama, or Manatee. And you're going to be building roads to get to the treasure at the center and gather as much gold as possible. You'll also be choosing roles with special abilities. So if you need to, for example, switch up your forts because you're in a bad position, or if you need more roads or different road tiles.
What kind of games influenced the design of the Kingswood?
There's probably every single game I've played, actually, when I think about it. But a couple of games kind of stand out. There's Citadels with the role selection, but we didn't really like how seating order kind of mattered, so we also have a different way to break ties. Each person has a card that is basically just a tiebreaker. So it's like entirely independent of where you're sitting or whatever. A lot of people say Carcassonne, but it's a lot more, I guess, aggressive and interactive than that, because you don't have to line up your tiles. You can kind of play them anywhere on the board, and you can even play them on tiles that are already played.
The art is also amazing in this game. What made you choose animals for the theme?
I honestly just love the look of the animals, and like we just thought it would be much more fun and funny if everything was animals instead, and helps kind of I guess dial down a little bit of the tension that might happen if it's a more serious kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah, and also I kind of have a soft spot for ostriches, so I kind of wanted to slip that in there.
And you playtested this game extensively as part of the Game Designers Night?
Yes, for over a year now, I think, actually. Basically every month we come in third Monday of the month and playtest this game, and I get to playtest a whole bunch of other games that are out there. So it was a really great learning experience, just I guess interacting with other designers and getting their input, and yeah, having them play the game and also playing their games and seeing all the different kind of ways that people kind of come to game design.
Okay, first of all, in today's Dice Baby, I want to look at some of the promo cards, the organized play cards that WizKids will be handing out during March of organized play for Dice Masters. Here we have stuff from the best Marvel series of all time ever, and that's Age of Apocalypse. The main bad guy, Apocalypse himself, the main good guy, Magneto, and then Dark Beast. Now, Dark Beast here, when he blocks, you can purchase a die with a cost of 2 or lower for free, or you can purchase a die with a cost 3 or lower instead. That's okay, special ability, not terrible. Interesting, and to have a villainous form of beast at least. Apocalypse and Magneto are both extremely powerful. Apocalypse, when he's fielded, you reroll everyone who's not Apocalypse, and your opponent takes 2 damage for each of his or her dice that rolled energy. Magneto, when he's active, if your opponent has no active villain characters, he gets to draw an additional die during the clear and draw. That's great. An extra die is fantastic. The second thing I'm going to show you is what I was cooking at the beginning of the episode, and these are these hearts. These are available if you go out and look, probably. I found them at, well, one of my friends found them at Dollar Tree, which has these for $1. And I think they're supposed to be put into a cup to look pretty on tables for Valentine's Day banquets or what have you. But what's interesting is that you can use them in games. Love Letter comes to mind, or perhaps like a regular dungeon crawl where you can use them for hit points. I think they're useful, and I'll be using them in several of my games. Lots of great videos coming from the Dice Tower this week. Hopefully, I'm working with Z to get him involved in more of the reviews, so you should see a couple of those from him this week. He'll be joining me on a couple of these reviews too. I got Heat from Asmati Games, Secret Moon, which is like a werewolf game in which you can't talk much. This little game called Manimals, and this little mini game here, a 2-player one called Province, another 2-player game from Blue Orange called Nia, Video Game High School. This is from Plaid Hat Games. It's not what you might think. And Pints of Blood, what a wonderful sounding name. But wait, there's more. Is this a good party game? It's been hyped by a lot of people, and I went into this with a lot of skepticism. Let's see if I was warranted there. Galactic Arena, and then, this really big one here, Hyperborea. All that's coming this week, as well as more videos. I do not know if we're going to get a live video published this week because of us doing the Kickstarter surveys. If we do, I'll let you know. I am going to be doing a question and answer time. This time I'll be doing it later tonight. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're interested in talking to me live, that would be the time to come in. And other than that, we got everything at DicetowerNetwork.com with all our podcasts. We'll have a Dice Tower podcast out on Tuesday, like always. Lots of exciting things. And now you'll find out that I'm not the only person who cooks game components.
Hello, I'm Chaz Marler of Pair of Dice Paradise, and today I'm gonna cook up some board games. Really, I'm literally going to cook them. Recently, I've been analyzing the unplayed board games in my collection to determine why those games keep getting passed over and how to rectify it. Today, I'll be looking at Guardians Chronicles, designed by the Red Joker and published by Yellow. Now, this game's Kickstarter campaign raised 3 times its targeted funds. This was due, in part, to the spectacular miniatures that were planned for the game. But even the best laid plans can go awry, because whereas the Kickstarter page showed off minis that looked like this, due to apparent production issues, the majority of what arrived in the box more closely resembled a tangled mess of minis produced at an overheated candle factory by a team of perpetually confused goblins. Now, there's always some discrepancy between a creator's vision and the final product, but, it would be nice if the game's figures stood up on their own. Now, unless I mistakenly purchased a box full of casualties, these don't quite function as I would expect miniatures should. Now, can these mangled minis be salvaged? Well, today, I'll be testing a tip for how to improve the minis in Guardians Chronicles. This suggestion can actually be used to straighten these or any other bent plastic minis. And it doesn't get much benter than this. So, follow me to the Pair of Dice Paradise Test Kitchen, where we'll put this technique to the test. To straighten your minis using this method, you will need the following items. A pile of horribly deformed miniatures that you wish to correct, tongs, ice water, and boiling water. Now remember, to avoid serious injury, please follow standard safety precautions when working with boiling liquids. Using the tongs, dip the bent mini into the boiling water. This will relax the plastic, allowing the figure to bend back closer to its originally intended shape. Now you only need to dip it for a couple of seconds. Too much time in the boiling water could permanently damage the figure. Then remove it from the boiling water and promptly submerge it into the ice water. This will cool and re-solidify the plastic. If you don't obtain the desired results the first time, you can repeat this process several times without damaging the mini, as long as you're careful. Using this hot to cold water method, I was able to correct the worst of my Guardians Chronicles minis in less than 5 minutes. Now, does the technique work? Well, let's check our results. And hey, it worked like a charm! Hopefully, this technique is something that you can use to correct disfigured plastic minis in your own collection. As for me, now that the figures in Guardians Chronicles now actually stand on their own, hopefully, it'll help finally get this dust ornament to the table.
Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, proudly a thorn in Tom Vasel's side. So I am by profession a historian. I teach college history, and I gotta tell you, I love historical board games, and I like to recommend historical board games to my students. One of the things I find, however, is that a lot of my students don't really care for war games. Some people like war games, some people don't, and they don't have the broad appeal that some of these other games do. But there are a lot of great historical board games that are not war games. I think my favorite, and everybody else's, if you go by Board Game Geek, is Twilight Struggle. Now, some people claim it's a war game. I really don't. I think it's a great historical simulation of that, 40-some-odd year conflict between the Soviet Union and the United States and their satellites. Another non-war game that has a strong history theme is Origins of World War II. Now, I talked about this here on Board Game Breakfast a while back. It's a great game that has a ton of history, but it's not really a war game, and I love it. I think it's great. One of the best historical board games that has come out in the last few years that was not a war game is Freedom, the Underground Railroad. This game is great. You're working together to get slaves out of the plantations and flee them north to freedom in Canada. It's a great game, and you really become invested in it, and it's a great tool for teaching history. Event guards come up, and they really inform people about the history of the era. But I want to know more. I want to recommend more great games to students that have a strong historical theme, but again, are not necessarily war games. So my question for all of you this week is, what is your favorite historical board game that is not a war game? And I'm not just talking about games that have a real light coating of a historical theme. I'm talking about games that really integrate the history well, like Twilight Struggle, like Freedom, the Underground Railroad. I'd really like to hear some of your answers so I can recommend some of these to my students. So thank you very much. This is the Discriminating Gamer. Adios.
Please somebody help me on my feet again.
When I was doing the live playthrough with Jason of Marvel Dice Masters last week, or not Marvel Dice Masters, D&D Dice Masters versus Yu-Gi-Oh!, which was a lot of fun for us to do, and we got to see a lot of the cool, we were able to show off stuff, and we took a little slower playing the game than we normally do, but we were able to show off a lot of the special pieces to it. But during the game, I rolled poorly, as happens in these games sometimes, and someone said, Tom has the worst luck. And I thought, I guess I am. But you know what? As much as that can be maybe sometimes frustrating, like, come on, why won't the dice go my way? The point I made was like, I don't care if I have the worst luck in games, if that is countered by just how wonderful my life is. And my life is really fun and spectacular, and many, many good things have happened to me, many bad things have happened to me, and I thank the Lord for all that He's done for me with the death of our son and just how that led to the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund and other things. But this kind of went home because I was talking to several people yesterday, a group of people who found out that I was a board game reviewer, and they said, wow, we want your job. And so I gave them the standard line like, yeah, I did it for 10 years for no pay, blah, blah, blah. But it really is kind of cool. But it's also maybe more work than people realize. And I thought what I would do is I'd run down kind of what I do over a typical week, because many people don't know how that might go. So what I do is each Sunday evening, I work on Board Game Breakfast till the very wee hours usually, because I want to get it all ready and going, because I want to make sure I'm able to publish it as soon as I can on Monday morning. So that involves me compiling it, going over the news for the week. Then I just, on Monday morning, I post Board Game Breakfast, and then I go start my week. So the first thing I do each week is I take one of these pads and I write out a checklist. And so every week, I got one over here. I have a checklist. You can see a little bit here. These are all the things I meant to do last week. And I almost checked off all of them. There were a few things I didn't check off, but they weren't critical. I got pretty much everything done that I needed to get done last week. If the computers hadn't collapsed, I would have got done more, maybe all of it. But I make that checklist, and I will be adding to the checklist as the week goes by. But that checklist involves, personal things like last week I needed to get my van fixed and so on. But it also has all the different board games I'm doing that week and the different things that I'm involved with. But there are some things that I do every day. Every day, I'm posting on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I take time to edit, publish, and produce Dice Tower News, the audio show. On Tuesday mornings, I take the files that Eric has worked on hard and then finish to work on them and publish and produce Dice Tower, the audio show. On Mondays, I usually dump out all the pieces for the board games from my component drops in my games and maybe get a jump on the videos start reviewing them, and that will be throughout the week. I'm reviewing videos and going over those. I will also be throughout the week answering a lot of email. The amount of email that I answer has really skyrocketed. People asking me questions like, what do you think about this game? What do you think about that? And I'm trying not to blow people off. And I try to give as short answers as I can, but email is getting higher and higher in that regard. And yes, I could maybe pass those emails off, but people often ask me, and it's just something that's starting to take more time. I also do a lot of video editing throughout the week, and video editing is a lot of work. I do some strategic planning for whatever event is next. Like last week, I spent several hours on the phone working with people from Gen Con and other conventions and saying, okay, what are we going to be doing at these conventions? And talking to different people in my network, like Z and Eric, and different things about what we're going to do. Every other Thursday, Eric and I spend several hours recording a Dice Tower podcast. Every other Wednesday evening, Z and I and Sam record the top 10, and that takes a good half day for me to edit that. So, am I trying to tell you all this to make you think, oh, poor Tom? No, I'm not. I love my job, and I don't maybe love every single tiny part of it. Who does? I mean, like taxes are coming. Is that fun for anybody? But it is great, and it is entertaining. But I always tell people, it isn't just sitting down playing board games and recording videos. We could, I suppose, just play the game, record us playing the game, and shoot that up on the web, and that would be good. I mean, but we But like, for example, we did Dice Masters last week, me and Jason. And before we did Dice Masters, we talked about it. We went over it. Jason and I read both our respective rule books, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dungeons and Dragons, and we kind of knew what was going on. And we still were asking you questions and things, and people were like, how can you not know everything? Can you imagine if we didn't know stuff and just started shooting video? It would look really bad and crazy. So a lot of work goes at editing, and I know people call me out about every editing mistake that we make, and that's fine. Keep calling me out on them. But there's just a lot of work that goes into that. And so this is exciting to me because now I have someone help me shoulder this load. Where Z came in last week and helped, and we worked, and there was so much going on still. But that's okay because we're looking and we're talking and we're working together to see what kind of videos and things we're going to produce, and I think it's going to be great. So while I think what I do, there is a lot of work involved, and I will continue to work as hard as I possibly can to get all these shows and things out to you. It really is a great job. And it really is fun, and I'm really thankful that I have such an opportunity, and you guys are the ones who make it possible, and so I appreciate that. So when someone says that I'm lucky to be doing what I'm doing, I can't really argue.
Welcome back, friends, to our third and final chapter in our series on movies and board games. Today's topic: could one of our games become a movie? To see which ones might have a workable premise on film, I've looked at the top 10 People's Choice for 2014. In terms of the blander Euro games, namely Carcassonne, Dominion, and Agricola, I think we can all agree that there isn't a story there. Ditto for Settlers of Catan and Puerto Rico and other stuff like that. I mean, how do you make a movie about Carcassonne? How do you do a dark, gritty reimagining about creating a valley somewhere in random rural medieval France? Pandemic would make a great movie, except they already did that recently under the name Contagion, and then again later under the name Pandemic. King of Tokyo, absolutely. People love movies about monsters rampaging through cities. Except there are already tons and tons of movies about monsters rampaging through cities. Seven Wonders. Well, maybe there's an Indiana Jones-esque style adventure game about the Seven Wonders, but I really doubt it. Eldritch Horror. Absolutely. The Cthulhu mythos is very popular. More important, it's public domain, meaning it's very free. Ticket to Ride. Maybe. While Ticket to Ride is very popular, there isn't a story there and there aren't characters there. But they could do something like that Rat Race movie and even get the rights to the Beatles song. Whoa. I said they could get the rights to the Beatles song. Lords of Waterdeep and Small World. Now, with the Hobbit franchise over, Hollywood is desperate for another epic fantasy. So those might make good candidates. But if you're looking for a game that's going to fill the epic fantasy niche, there's a much more likely candidate, namely Magic the Gathering. As we discussed before at one point, Magic's revenue is $250 million a year. That is more money than all but 4 movies made at the box office in the United States last year. Magic's been around for 20 years already, it's got a very dedicated fan base, and oh yes, they're already optioning it for a film. And if Magic is successful, who knows what could happen next? We might even finally get the dark, gritty reimagining of Carcassonne that we've all been waiting for.
All right, it's time for Monday, and I know Mondays aren't really fun for everybody, but come on, have a great Monday anyway. Try to plan a gaming schedule this week. Come back and ask questions tonight at the live Q&A. Wait for our reviews this week. Some of these reviews, we're going to be saying great things about others. The opposite of that. Which ones are which, you'll find out. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching as always. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.